Hello, hello, hi, folks. Welcome. Happy Friday. In hopes that you squeezed more out of your day than the day squeezed out of you. Welcome. Good to see everybody. Um, it's not midnight or 10 o'clock, and it's actually almost 8 p.m. in California. And I wanted to bring my thought to you early tonight. I have I didn't know what to write the title for this live, and I wrote it and erased it, wrote it, erased it, but I came up with at the end. I came up with you can't be cheap when it comes to a conversation. Basically, when you're starting a conversation, or you're wanting to carry on a conversation, or you want to establish a conversation. You can't be cheap. You can't be cheap when it comes to a conversation. Now, you may think, what the heck does that mean? Do I have to spend money to make conversation? I got to pay somebody to talk to them? No. That's not what I'm talking about. Now, let me put a pause on that for a second. I'll come back to that. You've also heard, hey, as you're joining me live, let me know you're here because I see the eyeballs move up, but I never know who's here, who's not here. It'd be nice to know if you throw some love or, hate or comment. I digress. Anyway, you've heard the comments or the thought, hey, less is more. Alan, what up? Dude, my man, Alan. Well, you're gonna love this. You're gonna love this live. Can't wait to read the comments afterwards. So you've heard the thought, less is more, right? Well, driving who crazy? That's the question. You've heard the thought, less is more, right? Especially when you get into like sales, and they give you like scripts to talk and like to sell products or services or what have you. When it comes to sales, they always tell you less is more, meaning you gotta talk less and say less. And when you do that, it actually is more, it counts for more. It has a heavier load, a heavier weight to it, right? Now, that's all great and dandy, but in some conversations that doesn't really work because you may not be selling anything. You may be pouring your heart out, right? But when it comes to sales, when they say, less is more, in some cases, in some instances, it's absolutely true. They tell you, you got 2 ears, 1 mouth, so you should listen twice as much as you talk. Now, I'm guilty. I when I get going, I like to talk. That's the reason why I like coaching and I like training, But like I said, when it comes to sales, less is more. Because the reason for that is because it's not that you're not wanting to share information. It's just you're giving the person time to kind of marinate those things that you've already shared. You don't want to overwhelm them with pounds of information, right? That's not going to get them anywhere. Now, which brings me to this conversation. I actually wanted to do this live a couple weeks ago. I'm not really sure why I wasn't able to, but I didn't anyway. But when it comes to conversation, I believe that you can't be cheap. And what does that mean? You know how they say, there's no shortcuts to success. There's no shortcuts to way to the top of the mountain. All that stuff that they tell you. It means that, you can't get rich quick. You can't not do the work. You can't not go through the hard times and expect to be on top of the world, right? And they talk about that. And so when it comes to a conversation, though, I want to kind of relate it back to this. When it comes to a conversation, I believe you can't be cheap. The same way you can't cut corners in success and life, you can't cut corners. Oh, gosh, I wish my camera was wider so you could see me talk. You could see me talk. Interesting. Whole other live on that one. But so you know how they said you can't cut corners, there's no shortcuts. And I believe in conversations, some conversations are worthy of more of your attention. So they're worthy of you not being cheap with conversation, which means not cutting corners, right? Not cutting corners, not eliminating words and sentences and thoughts that could make a big difference in the whole picture. You can't, I have found that, it's like giving directions to a kid, right? You gotta kind of go through all the steps, right? And if you're missing one, they're gonna be like, what happened here? Sometimes in some conversations with some people, it's worthy of your time and attention to go through those steps. And I think that's really important. I think you get to recognize those conversations as they show up, as they kind of show up in your day. And you'll be able to say, oh, you know what? I think this conversation is worthy of me not being cheap on it. So I got to kind of address all my thoughts. I got to share all my thoughts. I got to really invest time and invest my ears and my full heart and soul into this conversation. That's what that means, not being cheap in a conversation. It means that you are actually investing your time and efforts and your thoughts and your heart and your soul. You're putting it all into that conversation. It doesn't mean that you're talking. It just means you're completely invested in that conversation. Does that make sense? I hope that makes sense. I hope that next time you're going to have a conversation with somebody that is worthy of this, you pause and you recognize it, right? And you tell yourself, you know what? I can't cut any corners here. I better share all my thoughts here. I better give all my input. I better give all my heart and soul to it. Can't be cheap, right? And I hope that that in return you get the same, because you've also heard me say that I don't just waste my thoughts and conversation time with anyone. If I feel like if I'm talking to a brick wall, if I'm talking to somebody that would just clash, and the principles and our values to just not at par with each other, I don't go there. All right, I don't go there. It's like a party that if you don't go to somebody's house if you're not invited. You don't go to somebody's house if you're not welcome. So why would you drop your thoughts on people that don't really care, right? Same thing applies here. Some conversations are not worthy of that, but some are, because it goes back to that person on the other side that's actually talking to you, speaking to you, right? And that person is going to determine whether that conversation becomes worthy of your everything. And that conversation deserves you not being cheap with the conversation, right? So I hope you got some thoughts, some ideas, some values, some inspiration, some motivation, some values out of this. I want to know your thoughts. You know, I want to know your thoughts if you've been cheap in a conversation where you should have invested more and you didn't. How did that turn out? How did that pan out for you on both sides? If you got something like that you want to share, drop it in the comments below. If it's on the other side, you actually invested a lot in a conversation and it ended up paying back. So I want to know about that as well. Drop your comments below. Let this feed grow. I appreciate you guys. And hey, if you got some value, and this is good stuff, you say, you know what, I gotta share this stuff. You can share it on your wall. You can tag a couple people to this. Do what you gotta do. Spread the love. You feel me? But do drop your thoughts below. Let this feed grow. I appreciate you guys. And remember, if you share, you show that you care. Until tomorrow, where we do it all over again. Much love.